My mom never had the chance to go to school, so I realized how much she needed to learn how to read and write, and she did learn a little bit, and she always pushed me for more. She was like, if she would just tell me like this is where people who don't go to school, when she would come from work, she would show me how dirty and like how like sore she was all the time. And that was like one thing I will never forget. And that's what pushed me every single time. She was like, I don't want to ever see you working next to me. That's the one thing I'm asking you. Out of everything, she doesn't ask for much, but that's the one thing she asked me. I don't ever want to see you working with me. Being bilingual, being a woman, and that's what she asked me. So that's what I always remember. My mom doesn't ask for a lot of things, but the one thing she did ask me was to never be with her and working in the poultry next to her, because she's never went to school. She doesn't know how to read or write, and that's what she's told me. To her words, people like me who don't know how to read or write or know how to speak English, this is where we work. We work in the poultry. But you are a citizen of the United States, and you know you are bilingual. You are a woman, and that's not for you. And that's something that I remember all the time. Go specialize into the drugs or firearms and ballistics. I chose a long time that forensic was my major, was something I wanted to pursue. And when I went to George Mason, I realized that forensic was just a broad topic for like smaller things within. Well, I always knew that I wanted to go out of state, so it just really went with what college offered forensic science as a major. They always, a lot of colleges do offer forensic science, but not as an undergrad major. So it was just like limited. There was like, I think 4 schools that actually have forensic science as a undergrad major. So then it just became to selecting which one's closer to home, which one's more accessible. That was another issue too, like transportation. And it ended up that being the George Mason was closer. I didn't really go see the school, which a lot of people say you should go to. But I read a lot about their forensic science program. That's what I fell in love with. And later when I did go and found out more about the program, I knew that that was the right decision I had made. So out-of-state tuition, I'm paying out-of-state tuition, so it's much higher than in-state. So it's around 50 grand. With FAFSA and like some grants from George Mason itself, it covers about 20 to 30. So then we're left with about 20 grand left. And so it's breaking down 2 semesters, that's 10 every semester. And so private loans weren't an option. My family and I didn't qualify for that. So my parents had a small saving, and they started putting in more like, not hours at work, but like they have other side jobs. I started doing that more often, and that's how we were able to pay 10 grand a semester. I feel like there's always like the saying that if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to, you can. It's gonna be hard too. You might find like obstacles, and there's always lots of issues, especially at the last minute, but you'll get through it because if it's something you want to do, it'll be done. It was hard because I hadn't realized that forensic science had a lot of science in it. I know my first semester I started off with biology and chemistry. They each had a lab, and then I had this honors class because I'm in the honors college too. And it was like about researching, and that took a lot of time, especially when I had like science courses to study for. And like high school science is different than when you're in college because I think the most that I hated or was terrified of was like the chemistry labs. Just any science lab. You know, we would have to go in there and perform these procedures, and I didn't even know what the equipment was. I was terrified every single time. I was like, I don't want to go. And it's not like I can choose to skip a like lecture or anything like that. I had to go. It was mandatory. And I would wait for people to start so I can see what they were doing, and then I would follow and do the same because I was afraid of messing up. And I didn't know what the things were. Like now when I like think about it, it's like kind of silly, but it's things that I have never heard of before. So that was a new thing. My family and I are very, very close. I've never been away from home, so it was my first time that I actually like got up and left, and there was no chance of me coming back and forth visiting every weekend because it wasn't that close. And I was homesick. I still am to this day, a lot of days. And I am always like, I want to go home. And then the first few years was, the first year, it was really tough because like I wasn't doing well in my classes. And I was like, what if I picked the wrong major? And, you know, made this wrong decision coming like to an out-of-state school. And, you know, maybe this isn't for me. And then I would just call home, call my mom, and just like all those things that she asked for me, that most importantly, the things she didn't ask of me, it was just reinforced. And it was like, again, another like motivation to keep going. I feel like, I don't know, I've always like gone to school and I've always wanted to be more than the average person. I wanted to take like the lead and take my family with me to like succeed with them. And I've had lots of other cousins who've gone to college and never finished. And when they were like going to college, I would be like, yes, like, you know, now I have a role model, somebody to follow to, someone that can help me and guide me through the process. And then a few months later, years, they drop out, and I'm just like, well, now I'm on my own. So it was hard, and like, but I have a lot of support from lots of family members and people from the community. So that's what made it better at the end of the day. People out there believing in me. I think that's the main thing. If people believe in you, then you believe in yourself too. It's like confidence. Like you build your confidence and they help you too. I know, like, it's like people believe like into stereotypes and they automatically judge you. But from the beginning, I always set myself different from everyone else because I wanted them to realize I was serious about my career, about who I wanted to be in the future. I don't just want to be stereotyped into another girl, you know, another Hispanic. And I wanted to I stayed away from all the stereotypes in every single way that I could, just for myself in the future, that I would be able to do it. Well, they're getting older and I want them to stop working. I can't ask them to stop working now because I need their help and their support financially, which hurts a lot to ask for them. And so I want to be able to like care for my family and look after them just like they've done to me. And like, that's really it. I really care about my family. Like my family is like the main reason that pushes me through anything. Yeah, I want to get my master's. I want to start first with an internship, especially because it's my junior and senior year. Just starting from the bottom, like that's where you start. You just can't. I think a lot of people have like this illusion of like getting this job right out of college, you know, high-paying salary. It doesn't happen that way. You have to start a little bit early and just start from the bottom and build your way up. And so that's how the way I've always thought about it. So I want to find an internship, either anything science related to get me a little bit more knowledgeable in that field. And I want to pursue my master's. I really, really want to. At first I was like, I want to go after my bachelor's and that's it, you know. And then I realized my bachelor's just like brushing the cover of just forensic science. So I want to go deeper into it. I want to, you know, I really want to do like specialize in something. I haven't decided quite what yet, but I'm either thinking of drugs or like the firearms and ballistics. But I'm not quite sure. I want to get some experience before I make my final decision.